How are you feeling today? Do you feel fulfilled in life? The show will begin in 4 minutes. Are you ready? When was the last time you felt betrayed? When was the last time you felt loved? The show will begin in 3 minutes. Are you ready? What did it feel like to be in love? What is the most painful part of being in love? The show will begin in 2 minutes. Are you ready? Are you ready to be transformed? Are you ready to make a change? The show will begin in 1 minute. I hope you're ready. The show will begin in exactly 30 seconds. Get ready. What if I told you that the guy that you want could be seeing a whole bunch of other women? What if I also told you it's easy to spot if he's seeing other women as long as you pay attention to a few key areas. Now, if you want to know what those key areas are, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing 6 signs he's seeing other women. That way, you don't end up as just another member of his massive roster of women ever again. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively participating. How are all you beautiful people doing here up in the chat? Who we got up in the TikTok chat? I see we got Brooklyn here. Go Plants is here. Azay is here. Star is here. Melanie is here. June is here. MK June is here. Philly is here. And of course, we have our moderators, Sharice, SH, and Scotty here up in the TikTok chat. Who we got over in the YouTube chat? I see we got Mary Kay here. Class is here. Viola is here. Justice is here. Generia? Okay, I like that name. LP Baby is here. Kayla is here. Flower is here. Who are some of our channel members? I see CC here, one of our channel members. I seen Tracy Nows earlier, one of our channel members. Ivy, one of our channel members, is here. Who else we got here up in the chat who's one of our channel members? I want to make sure I shout out all the amazing channel members. Thank you all you beautiful people who come out and join the show and are part of the show. I appreciate you so much. What's my punishment going to be for canceling on you all yesterday? Those of you who are in the Discord knew that I canceled and I explained why. But if you're not in the Discord, you probably don't know. But what's going to be my punishment? Tell me up in the chat. What's my punishment for missing yesterday's class after saying I would be there and then not showing up last minute? There's got to be some sort of punishment we all agree on. Tell me in the chat what's my punishment. We'll review and maybe we'll decide on something later on. All right, let's hop into our first point. All right, very important show today that I want us all to be on the same page about because I think it's something that will open your eyes a lot. Ooh, just barely fit it. That makes me happy. Okay, so here's the thing about do not disturb. See, you'll find yourself in a situation sometimes where guys are doing this thing and it's gonna look very strange. Guys sometimes do this thing where when they're talking to other women, so we'll put here one version where he has no woman and another version where he has, we'll just say another woman. So there's this thing where guys will do where when they have no woman in their lives, it doesn't make them uncomfortable or anxious, the idea of having their phone out in front of you, okay? And some of you will get triggered by this, but it's okay, you'll learn something, all right? So let's just imagine here, this is a cell phone. I know cell phones don't look like this anymore, but whatever, okay? What, cell phone, this is your iPhone. Now, here's the thing about, guys and the way that they'll go about the cell phone situation. And there's a reason why I title our number one point, do not disturb. See, when guys have no women in their lives, they don't really have a problem with their phone going off around you. Right? This is something where I want you to take notice of, right? They don't have a problem with you seeing their notifications. This is going to sound very trivial, but as we go deeper into this, you'll understand why I'm saying this, right? They don't want you to see who's calling. And they definitely don't want you to see who's texting. Right? So this is the thing about guys and when they have no women. This will not be a problem for them, right? They'll be able to have their phone out, face up. It won't bother them. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time they'll purposely put it face up, but the idea of you holding the phone is not going to be an issue. The idea of you looking something up on his phone is not going to be an issue. The idea of you searching something that you need his phone in collaboration with yours in order to look at something or search something up or confirm something will not be an issue. Now, vice versa, what you'll notice when guys are talking to other women, okay? And this is something that you can even discover in slickness, right? You have the cell phone here. And he will always be looking for any excuse to show you the phone, okay? Now, this is something that usually happens when a guy knows he has something that is very incriminating on his phone. He's always looking for a way where you don't need to have his phone in your hands. He doesn't have to hand it to you. He doesn't have to show you anything on it. And he definitely doesn't want to be handling it. This is the other thing. He doesn't want to be handling the phone. He's not going to want to handle the phone around you or with you in close proximity to you. Because he is nervous that someone may call or text at the time that he has the phone in front of you, that you can see what's going on, that you'll realize he's doing something behind your back, or you'll realize the other girls that he's talking to. Because this is the thing, and this is the trickiest part about being a guy who's texting other women or talking to, I should say, other women simultaneously. See, you might be able to control when you see these women, right, in person, and organize the times in which you spend with each individual woman. But you can't control how often or frequently that woman chooses to text you or message you when you're not spending time with her, okay? And you're gonna kind of see how this works from both ends of the stick here, or the totem pole. Because from this end, when you're spending time with this guy, but he's also talking to other women, he's gonna wanna make sure that you don't get a hint or a whiff of any of these other women in the time that he's spending with you. So obviously the only way for those, the only way for those women to contact him while he's with you is through the phone, whether it be calling him, whether it be messaging him. And if, he's really got a grip on multiple women and he's really in deep with multiple women, they might be spam messaging him or spam calling him because they're unaware of where he has gone or why he has disappeared, which is another thing we're going to talk about later on in the show. But I want you to take notice of this and hear me at the beginning here. Because I know as I go through all of these things, and some of you get some ideas here, and some of you, your wheels start turning here. I know for some of you, you're going to hear me talk about this and say to yourself, oh, my man does that, or the guy that I'm talking to does that. And you immediately say, oh, well, I want to make sure I call him out on doing that. Let me tell you why that's a mistake. And that's not the way you want to go. See, we're here giving you the signs that he's seeing other women so that you can observe what's going on, right? And instead of making an assumption and just coming out and accusing him of something that you don't have evidence on, use this as an observation that you decide, okay, maybe I need to look into things more. And I need to continue gathering more information to figure out what's going on here. Because while I won't say that noticing one of these things one time means that he's cheating on you or talking to multiple other women, I will say if you're noticing multiple of these things on an ongoing basis, it definitely means that he's seeing and speaking to other women. But still, even once you notice that, you want to make sure that you allow yourself the space to gather more information and to take notice of pattern changes or interrupts or how he's going about his business in order for you to then come to the proper conclusion with the proper evidence that something is actually going on behind your back. And you definitely don't want to be calling guys out on seeing other women if you're not even exclusive yet, right? So that's first things first, is the do not disturb, right? And when I say do not disturb, I'm talking about all the versions. So whether it be putting his phone on do not disturb so no one can contact him, or making sure that his phone is far away from you at all times of you guys hanging out, or just going out of his way to make sure that you're not handling his phone, seeing what's in his pictures, seeing what's in his messages, seeing what's in his anything, okay? Right? That's another sign, a definite sign that he is seeing and speaking to other women for sure, all right? Does that make sense to all of you so far, and why that is very important? I know that I said before, yesterday the show was titled 5, but I did upgrade it to 6 because this one dawned on me and I almost forgot, because I feel like this is one of the biggest ones to take notice of, because it's so slick. And truthfully, I've noticed this go both ways for both men and women, but I love to give you this information because this is like secret Players Club information that most people will never pick up on. Okay? And I love that most people never pick up on this because it turns you into a pro here. So I'm gonna draw you out a visual so you can see this. We can call this stop pooping time. We can call this, get your hand out of your pants time, because this is a really, really, really good way to secretly observe when someone is talking to other people, okay? So I'm going to draw up obviously a man and a woman here, okay? So obviously we have the man here and we have the woman here. So we have a woman and then we have a man. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna show you how pronouns will actually get you in secretly to understanding what a guy is actually doing behind your back and how this works. Because for some of you, it's not going to make sense, but as I explain it, it'll make more sense to you. So whenever a guy is describing a story to you, let me just give you an example of something. Let's say you're on a date with a guy and you're talking about how you really love Italian food. That's like your favorite thing to eat. You love some good fettuccine alfredo from an Italian restaurant, whatever the case may be. And he's telling you, oh yeah, I haven't been to an Italian spot in a while. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the last time that I went to an Italian spot, I was with my friend, right? My friend. And, my friend was telling me how, that friend also loved Italian food. I think they were like ordering something, right? Keyword, they. I think they ordered something like a pizza or something along those lines. But I remember the way that they felt and the way that they were when they tasted the pizza, they weren't very happy with how that went. And I just feel like, at that time and at that restaurant that we went to, my friend, just wasn't really into the Italian food. So I just never really went there after that with them. Do you see what's happening here? Okay. This is something that, see, if you haven't dated enough, you don't see this happening. So for those of you who are kind of new to dating and a little bit more naive, you might not notice when this is happening. But for those of you who are more experienced in dating, you know exactly what I'm talking about. See, there's a difference between when people will describe a story to you and they don't want to let you in on the fact that that story consisted of hanging out or spending time with someone that they either used to date, are currently dating or seeing, or currently talking to or speaking to. And the reason for that is they either don't want to hurt your feelings or they just don't want to tell all of their secrets. But they do want to tell you a story that applies to the situation or the joke or the whatever it is that you guys are talking about. Because the truth of the matter is, for guys, and I'll kind of focus it on guys here, if they're describing a man, the things that they'll say is, when describing the situation, my boy or my boys, right? They'll say he / him, right? That's how we're calling this the pronouns. And they'll say things like, if they're talking about his thought process, they'll say his, right? Things like that. So the reason that I say this is because majority of the time when guys are describing a story about a man, they will say my boy. They will say he. They will say him, because there's no reason for them to hide the pronoun that should be used for that person. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, a lot of times when guys are describing a story that has to do with a girl, they will use they and they will use my friend, okay? Because it's a lot more vague and it leaves it up to interpretation of my friend could be a man, but my friend could be a woman. And if you don't catch it, see, this is why sometimes being naive in dating really sucks. Because for people who are naive, they miss it, they never address it, and then it passes by and you never get a chance to realize what was going on. What I mean by that is, if I tell you my friend, and I say they, and I say their, and I say them, and I tell you a story of something that I went through or happened with me, and then let's say down the line, you figure out that when I was saying my friend or when I was saying they, I was actually referring to my ex who I'm still talking to currently, to this day. And you didn't realize that I was talking to her currently to this day and I was telling you a story about her until after the fact. When you then call me out on the thing that I told you long ago and I said my friend or I said they and I said that, and you were like, oh, wait, but why didn't you tell me that that story or that thing or that trip that you went on or that restaurant you went to, that was with your ex who you're still currently talking to, or that was with this girl who you're literally dating right now as you're dating me? or talking to me. He'll then say, oh, I told you about the story and I was honest with you about the story. I just didn't tell you who it was because you didn't ask. When you're naive in dating, you'll miss this and you'll miss when this is happening. Okay? But trust me, people and men, they don't do this on accident. When they're describing stories, the seasoned veterans, they know how to use word semantics and pronouns to hide the fact that they're doing something nefarious or to kind of mask a story and not tell you the whole truth. And hopefully, if you're too naive and you're not paying attention, you won't realize this is happening. And you won't realize what's actually going on when they're describing to you this story, okay? Tell me in the chat if you've ever had this happen to you, because I know for myself, I've had this happen to me a lot in my dating experience. And it took me to become more experienced in dating before I really realized how this works. And I think it's very fascinating and interesting when people do this. Kayla says, but I've also done this. So imagine if you've done this yourself because you're trying to mask the story. Okay, that's why I said both men and women do this. So imagine if you've done this yourself because you're trying to mask the story of what's actually going on and how that would also apply to the men as well, right? They are using very similar tricks to you if you're also someone that does this yourself. So that's why I say pay attention to that in the way that people describe stories, right? And then remember, I told you, this show isn't about realizing that, observing that, and then saying, aha, I caught you. Okay, what I want you to do is when you find out this information, or when you observe this from the guy that you're talking to, use this as a tidbit of information that allows you to say, oh, interesting. I'm gonna look into this a little bit deeper. Maybe I ask some follow-up questions to get them to admit to something. Okay, or it could just be, I'm just gonna wait or pace myself. I'm not gonna jump too deep into this because I thought, we were doing a thing where we're exclusive, but it seems like something else is going on behind the scenes that I'm unaware of. So I'm gonna pace myself and allow myself to do a little bit more digging before I completely, jump right into this date or this dating stage or this talking stage exclusively with this person. Does that make sense to you guys so far, right? I want you to all peep that with the pronouns. It's very, very, very slick. Very slick. You'll miss it if you're not paying attention, okay? All right. Let's hop into our third point here, okay? So, in point number 3, we're going to talk about something that might sound a little strange. Let me make sure I spell this right for the spell police. Oops. I did it right. So proud of me. All right. So disappearance, very, very important for us to understand here. And I'm going to really break this down because I want this to be something that you get good at observing when you're dating men, because this can happen very, very easily. So I want to kind of talk to you about how schedules work and how people work. And when you talk to people, how to decipher situations and information that has both been told to you and omitted from you, and for what reason those things could be omitted from you. So let's just say, for the sake of example, you're talking to a guy and obviously when you start dating a guy, you're not going to be seeing him every single day because you're not going to be spending every single day with the guy. You definitely shouldn't be, even if you're like this guy a lot. So as you start dating this guy, right, and he has his calendar, right? Obviously, as you guys go on your dates, you're going to be asking each other and catching up with each other on what you have been doing the past couple of weeks or the past couple of days, okay? Someone said it's a 6-day week. It's not a perfect calendar, all right? You get my point. Now, here's the thing. When you're talking to this guy, let's just say, for the sake of example, on Monday, right? This is Monday. He spent the day with you, right? You guys went on a date. So that Monday is accounted for. And let's say on the Tuesday, he went to work, okay? Went home, hung out with some friends, and did some other things. But let's say, for the sake of example, that on this Sunday, he seems to always be gone. He doesn't message you on that Sunday. He doesn't call you. You don't really hear from him. You don't see a story from him. And even if you guys will go on a date on a Tuesday one time, you'll go on a date on a Wednesday another time, you'll go on a date on even a Thursday other time, steady. On this Sunday, you always have a strange disappearance from him. The same day of the week, every single month consistently. And weirdly enough, the only thing that is consistent is the fact that his disappearance comes at the same time. So in terms of his inconsistency, he's actually inconsistent with you in a very consistent way. You just have a block here that you really can never account for, and he just disappears on a regular basis. Now, this is the thing that I want to kind of warn you of. When guys are taking these disappearances, right, on a regular basis, and on these random days, they'll just go missing in action, right? Even if it's not necessarily just a scheduled day, but on random times, he'll disappear from you, and you just won't be able to account for what he's doing at that time, and then he'll come back like nothing ever happened. Make sure you take note of that, okay? And we're gonna even talk about that a little bit at the end as well. Make sure you take note of this and these random occurrence disappearances. See, this is different from a guy who's hot and cold with you, okay? And I'm gonna describe to you how it's a little bit different. See, a guy who's hot and cold with you will seem like one day he's really interested in you, and then talking to him a couple days later, it'll seem like he's not that interested in you, right? He'll pull back some of that energy. But these guys with their disappearances, when we're talking about a guy who's talking to other women, he will disappear on you randomly. And then all of a sudden, when he comes back after his disappearance, he'll give you the same amount of energy. He'll give you the same amount of focus, and he'll give you the same amount of attention. However, you'll be thinking in your mind, wait, where did you go? You were gone for a day, or you were gone for 2 days, or you were gone for whatever. What happened? And he'll just be like, oh, I was just, doing nothing, really, just chilling. How are you? I missed you so much. It was so good to see you last Monday, and I want us to go out on a date again. I want that to be something where you take it in and you observe it and you say to yourself, something is happening here. Because guys don't do this disappearing act for no reason. And I'm going to connect this to you to our first point that we discussed. Remember how I talked to you about how if you're with a guy and he's talking to other women, he's going to make sure that his phone is as far away from you as humanly possible, that you don't touch it, you don't see what's going on, and no one can reach him while he's with you. Now, that's if you're spending time with him and he's talking to other women while you're spending time with him. But think about how that looks from the opposite end of the spectrum if we're talking about the women that are not with him while you're with him. And think about how that would look if you were in their position. What do I mean by that? When you're not spending time with this guy and he's talking to other women, when he's on those dates with those other women, his phone is also away. His phone is also face down. His phone is also on do not disturb. So for those random occurrence periods of time, because if he's talking to multiple women, sometimes he might date a girl on Sunday, sometimes he might date a girl on Thursday, sometimes he might date a girl on Tuesday. And now all of a sudden, those days where he's with those other women, that's who's getting all of his attention, that's who's getting all of his focus, and you're not going to be able to reach him. So the other thing that you'll notice as well, and I should add this in the disappearing act, because it's not just the act of disappearing. It's also that when he chooses to disappear, you can't reach him. Okay? I'm going to say that again because it's a very important part of this point. When he chooses to disappear, if you choose to take initiative of reaching out to him by calling him or messaging him, you'll notice he does not respond to you until he is free again and ready to talk to you. This might sound strange or weird to some of you, so I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. So let's say for the sake of example, you notice that throughout the week, he'll always choose 1 or 2 days where you don't hear from him at all. And let's say on one of those days where you can just feel it, like this is one of those days where you're not going to hear from him at all. Let's say for the sake of example, which I'm not advising you to do it, but let's just say for the sake of example, you actually needed something from him and you had to speak to him, call him, or text him urgently because you needed an answer for something. These guys that are disappearing because they're with other women and talking to other women, you will notice that no matter what you try, no matter how many times you try to call, no matter how many times you try to text or reach out to him, If you try to contact him on one of these disappearing days, you will not get an answer from him. And until he has finished disappearing, meaning until he's just back in your life and ready to talk to you and interact with you again, he will not contact you back. He will not answer your calls. You'll feel like, damn, did his number get blocked? Right? You'll notice when you call him, it just goes straight to voicemail. Or you'll notice that it just rings and rings and rings. No answer, no pickup, no nothing. No sign of him on WhatsApp. No sign of him on Instagram. No sign of him logging into nothing. Okay? So I want that to help you understand what's going on here. Think about it from the opposite perspective. When you were with him and he was putting that phone face down on do not disturb to not have anyone contact him while he's with you, from the opposite end of the spectrum, now when you're sitting at home and he's now doing his disappearing act because he's spending that time with another woman, that phone is face down on do not disturb. And of course, you won't be able to get in contact with him either. Okay? So I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying this to help you see what's going on, okay? And notice these patterns here. Yo-Yo says he might even be married. Honestly, it's possible as well. These things and these tips can also apply to a guy who underneath your nose might have something else going on with another woman, whether that woman be his girlfriend, whether that woman be his wife, or whether that woman just be another woman that he's talking to, right? So it kind of applies in all of those different senses, all right? Let's hop into our point number 4, okay? We all on the same page so far. I know I'm going kind of fast. Okay. Point number 4. Let's put it on my thing. Okay. Point number 4. Oh, this is good. I love this. I love explaining this one to you because this is a neat one. Some of you probably don't listen to hip hop. So you probably don't know this song, but for some of you that listen to hip hop, you might know this song. It's a Ty Dolla $ign song. And I forget the title of the song. Some of you might be able to tell me in the chat if you know the title of this song for everyone else to listen to it. But it goes like this. I got 2 of my B words in the club, and I know they know about each other. Something like that, okay? So it's funny because this is exactly what this is applying to. Some of you might know the name of the Ty Dolla $ign song that I'm discussing. So this is the thing about plans and how plans work in a situation for a guy who is talking to multiple women. You'll notice something where guys that you're talking to will become fixated on something very, very important here. And I'm going to explain this to you. See, wow, his head is really large, okay? We'll put the other girl here with her stick body, and we'll put you here as well. You got a short bob today. You're rocking the short bob, okay? You bobbing it up, all right? And that's you. We'll make you a little bit thicker. Longer legs, okay? You fine as hell. All right, so here's the thing that you'll notice about guys and their plans. See, you have to understand, if I'm a man and I'm talking to multiple women, one of the most important things for me to do is to schedule all of my women properly. Because the worst thing that could possibly happen to me if I'm talking to multiple women at once is for both of my women to be in the same place at the same time. I get caught up, I'm cooked, as the kids say, okay? That's why the Ty Dolla $ign goes, I got 2 of my B words in the club. And I know they know about each other. It's not a flex. He's paranoid in the song that 2 of my girls both know what's going on. I'm about to get cooked, okay? So the reason I say this is because you'll notice something with men who are talking to multiple women at once. He's always trying to schedule you in a very particular block of time, and he is not at all flexible to moving you around, okay? The other thing that you'll notice with these men is if you ever think of just spontaneously meeting up, right? or pulling up to wherever he says he's at, he will be very, very paranoid at that idea. Okay, so he will never encourage you to pull up on him or meet him wherever he's at spontaneously. Okay, these guys are not into spontaneous meetups because that could mean that you pull up when his other girl is around. Okay, the other thing that you'll notice is a lot of times when guys are not with you, they'll be very vague about their whereabouts, right? They'll be very vague about their whereabouts or what it is they're actually doing while they're not with you. Because here's the thing, think about this logically from both senses. One, if he's with this other girl, right, and he's spending time with her, right, he has to pay attention to her. And if he has to pay attention to her, it's very hard to be doing a whole bunch of explaining to you about what he's doing at that time. Because the more he's over here texting you about what's going on right now or making up his lie, his girl that he's spending time with is also going to be wanting his attention and is going to be concerned, why are you over here texting a whole bunch and doing a whole bunch of, like something's really important going on your phone, what's going on your phone? So he doesn't want to get caught up that way. So his ability to explain to you what's going on in his life at that point will be greatly hindered. And you'll notice a lot of vagueness in the way that he explains what he's doing, if he even bothers to answer you or answer any of your questions or any of your texts, right? You're also obviously going to notice that he's going to be very, very vague with his whereabouts, okay? He might just say, oh, I'm over here just doing some stuff, or I'm just getting some work done, or I'm just whatever. And anytime you try to ask follow-up questions, they will either go unanswered, or he'll continue to be very, very vague about his whereabouts. Remember, if guys are talking to multiple women, they don't want to get caught up. So giving you too much information about his whereabouts or what it is that he's doing will actually make it easy for you to connect the dots on things, okay? So be aware of men who are purposely being vague with you, especially when you're asking for a specific answer. And be aware of how men will go about dating you, planning and organizing with you, and the approach that they'll take to spending time with you, okay? Because there's nothing wrong with him paying attention to you and wanting to be around you when you're there. But the other thing you want to notice is if all of a sudden you feel a drastic change when he's not around you, or you feel a lot of vagueness and coldness and not that same amount of attention and focus on you just because you guys aren't together, and even when you ask him direct questions, you feel a lot of diversion in his answers or ignoring answering your questions, that is a clear sign that he's seeing and speaking to other women for the reasons that I just stated. He's paying attention to that woman, number one, and then also if he gives you too many clear answers on his whereabouts or what he's doing or what his future plans are, it will make it easy for you to coordinate things, pinpoint things, and put two and two together, okay? Guys, I always tell you, the enemy, for guys who are trying to use you, take advantage of you, or be sneaky, the clarity is the enemy for them. Guys who are being sneaky, they do not want to give you clarity on anything because clarity makes it easy for you to know what's going on, okay? If you don't have clarity and you're a little bit confused and everything is kind of vague and left up to interpretation, that's the best way for men to be able to continue using you. That's just the reality of life, all right? Let's hop into our, what point was that? That was point number 4. Let's hop into point number 5, all right? Okay, so this is gonna sound a little bit funny. And I like that it sounds funny because it's another one of these pro tips that I think some of you may have realized, but it'll be more obvious to you when I talk about it like this. So when we have the guy here, and no, we'll even draw him down here because this will be a better visual for all of you. His head lopsided. I think he got dropped on his head as a kid, all right? So this is the man here. And we're gonna draw this visual for you to think about here. And we're gonna draw the other girl here. We make her body real slim because she's not as voluptuous as you. Your head is big because your brain is big. You've got beautiful, we'll make it curly hair this time. a nice big smile. You've got an hourglass triangle body like that. Super big dump truck. And that's what you look like, okay? So you're the A+, all right? And this is the other girl. All right, so now, so we have you and we have the other girl. Here's the thing that's kind of funny that you'll notice also. It's like a little bit of a pro tip when we're talking about relationships and we're talking about the things that will happen when guys are talking to other girls. See, one of the things when you're describing a story and when you're dating multiple people as a man, see, everyone likes to think that, oh, I'm so smart and I'm so intelligent that I will remember everything exactly as it happens. I'll never mix up stories or mix up people or interpretations or whatever the case may be. I'm just so sharp, so intelligent, I never slip up. I'll never get caught. That's what they all think. So what ends up happening though is as you're talking to a guy, and this is the great part about letting guys talk. Let them share. Let them, spill the tea, as some of you might say. Let them just be honest with you about themselves, their thoughts, and their feelings. And encourage them on an ongoing basis to talk more and talk more and talk more. Because the more that they talk, the more that they will accidentally reveal. And every chance you give them to talk, there's another chance for them to slip up. So here's the thing about this. A lot of guys will tell stories or refer to things that happen in your relationship. And sometimes they won't realize that what they think is a story about you is actually a story about the other girl, right? Right? So we'll even put this here. He might think he's referring to a story or an event or something that happened between you and him, but he's actually telling you a story of an event or something a situation that happened with him and another woman. And the reason that you know that is because you're like, wait, that was never me. We never did that, okay? And this is something where I don't even want you to call it out. I just want you to take notice of it. So some of you might be saying, Tomisin, what are you talking about? Give me an example. So I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean here when I'm talking about this. So let's say, for the sake of example, you guys are, in the car. And in the car, you guys see like a clown on the side of the street, okay? He's like throwing up a sign or something like that. And when you guys see the clown on the side of the street, he's like, oh my gosh, that clown literally looks like It. Like the clown from It. Remember when we went to go watch the movie It? And that clown was like going crazy? He literally looks like the same shape and the same kind of mask as the clown from It when we went to go watch that movie. And you're thinking, wait, what? And he's like, the clown It. You know the movie that we went to go see, It? Yeah, doesn't that look like the same clown? And you're like, wait. We never went to go see It. And then he's like, no, I'm sure we went to go see It. It was me and you. And then this is where I want you to just take it in and be like, I see what's happening here. Because if you guys actually want to go see it, you say, oh, yeah, he kind of does look like It. Just ignore it, right? And just move on. He kind of does look like It. You're right. He does look like It. And I want you to take the information in, right? Don't make him aware that you've just caught him, but take the information in and say, clearly something is going on. Because if you're actually genuinely mistaking, thinking that me and you went to the movie theater and me and you never went to the movie theater, and you're even thinking that this happened recently, that clearly means you're seeing or speaking to someone else, either one person or multiple people, to the point where you can't even pinpoint which experience was with which person. This is why I always remind you guys how difficult dating multiple people at once can be. Because you might think to yourself, oh, I have perfect memory and I'm able to never forget what goes on in any of my relationships, and each of one of them is unique to me. But the reality of it is these experiences start to become jumbled up after a while, especially when for a prolonged period of time, you're dating multiple people and having experiences with multiple people, okay? This is an easy way to spot that. And it's something where, like I said before, as you allow guys to talk and share and talk more about themselves and their life and their experiences, it will be easier and easier for them to slip up by telling you these things accidentally or telling on themselves accidentally, okay? Does that make sense? right? Someone said clowns are scary. They are kind of scary. Well, not to me, but I can understand why some people might be scared of them, okay? Right? LP Baby says, don't say it must have been your other girlfriend, please. That's so true. Please, please. If you catch this in action, if you do catch this in action, don't say what you want to say, which is that that was your other girlfriend, okay? Please don't say this. I beg of you. I'm begging you. I love you. I don't want you to look desperate. I don't want you to look needy. I don't want you to look like, the girl who is so sad that this guy's talking to other people and you have no life, okay? Just take it in, realize that it means something, and then do your extra digging to figure out what it really means, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So let's hop into our second point. What did someone say? All right. Let's hop into our, second point, our 6th point. Okay. You like how I drew you there? Nice hourglass figure. Okay. Point number 6. Now, this is going to feel a little bit similar to our other point, but I want to kind of crystallize it in a different way. So, this is one of those points where, as scary as this might sound, right, this usually means, unfortunately, we're not just referring to him seeing other women. There probably is another woman. And when I say another woman, you might be the side chick, okay? I know this is a little bit disappointing, but when we get to this point, it becomes very serious. So you know how I talked earlier about the disappearing act and how when a guy is seeing and talking to other women, he will disappear on you periodically and even sporadically. Now, when we're talking about gaps and gaps in a man's day, what you'll notice is even more than it just being sporadic, each and every day at a certain period of time, let's say for here, it's from 4 p.m. to midnight, right? And this is afternoon, he has work. And let's say in the morning, he works out, okay? But what you'll notice is when you are seeing or speaking to a man, dating a man that is talking to other women or has another woman, you'll notice that there is always a very specific block of time in which he is nowhere to be found. So we'll put in here MIA, okay? MIA, for those of you who are from different parts of the world, just stands for missing in action. So for this specific block of time, he is nowhere to be found. And he's nowhere to be found, not because he's actually disappeared into thin air. It's because he is now with his wife or girlfriend, who he more than likely lives with or spends a lot of time with. And when he's with this woman, he absolutely cannot risk you contacting him, you calling him, you texting him, you sending him Instagram DMs, nothing. Okay? These gaps obviously will be very, very consistent because for the most part, if this is his serious girlfriend or his wife, he will obviously be seeing her on a consistent basis, right? Some of you also say family dinner, right? Family dinner is 100% true, right? Family time, 100% true. So if you're noticing, especially when the gap or the disappearance is coming right at nighttime, where most people are winding down, they don't have work or anything like that, and that gap is happening each and every day, then 100% he's seeing other women. And even more than that, he probably has a girlfriend of his own or a wife of his own, okay? Any of these prolonged gaps of time where he's just not speaking to you, and in this sense, even these short gaps of time where he's not speaking to you on a regular basis, it's always a sign something is going on that you're unaware of, okay? Now, once again, even in this point number 6, I don't want you realizing this and then saying, oh, I know that he is doing this, and I know that this is that guy, I'm going to call him out and tell him how I know he's seeing other. No, no, no. I want you to use that and take that in as information. And then when you take that in as information, then what you're going to do is you're going to dig deeper and see what more you can uncover. I'm not saying you got to be an FBI agent. And if you decide that this is enough information for you to just break up with him, then go ahead and do that. But I know most of you won't do that. So what I want you to do rather is to wait, be patient. See what more information you can discover and uncover to get to the bottom of why this is the way that it is, okay? Right? Because I promise you, there is something there, as long as you do some work to try and find that out. Because the moment you just accuse him, I promise you, he's just gonna lie to you anyways, okay? He's just gonna lie to you anyway. So don't even bother accusing him. You're better off finding the information out for yourself. And if you don't wanna be an FBI agent, then go ahead and break up with him right then and there. All right. Does that make sense to all of you so far and why that's so important? Do you guys have any questions about the 6 that we just discussed? The 6 ways that you will know he's seeing another woman or multiple other women. Tell me in the chat. I'm answering all questions. All right. Let's go into our first couple of donations here that I can answer. Kayla donates $10. Probably the most. She's so generous. Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate you. The best teacher in the world is back and better. We love Tommy. Thank you so much, Kayla. I really appreciate you and all your amazing donations. Shout out to Deshaun Damon and Malicia, who both became members of the show on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Nicole donates $5 in the YouTube chat. She says, I always love your drawings, Tomisin, but the singing/rapping is beyond compare. Yeah, I'm always adding elements to the show. Do you guys know that Ty Dolla $ign? I got to my and I know it's a good song. I can't remember the name of the song though. Oh, thank you so much to Go Plants who just donated in the TikTok chat. I just saw that at the corner of my eyes. And thank you so much to anyone who has donated in the TikTok chat. I know Go Plants, she's always like, we'll just assume she's like the #1 donator because she'd be the #1 donator every time in the TikTok chat. Paranoid, that's the name of the song. See? See? The song is literally called Paranoid. And he's paranoid because he's got 2 of his girls in the club at the same time. And he knows he's about to get cooked because he's about to get caught, okay? So that is actually the perfect song for exactly what we're talking about here and taking you through the mind of a man and how they think and operate on things, all right? So someone asked a question, how do we stay wicked? What do you mean by stay wicked? What do you mean by that? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that, okay? Oh, NW in the YouTube chat says, what happened if I don't pick up? And what do I do if he gets mad? If he gets mad about you not picking up, are you talking about in a situation like this as it relates to exactly this, or you're just talking about in general? Yvette says, this happened to me. I was hanging out with him and the girl was blowing up his phone and he lied to her and said that he is, let me go back to it. And he said that he is what? And he said he's talking to his grandma and that he'll explain later. That's funny. So some of you might have been on the opposite end of that where you're with him and then when he's answering the phone of another girl blowing him up, he's telling her a lie. So think about it. If it can happen with you, then it can happen to you. So take that in as information there, okay? T donates $10 in the 10 euros, I should say, in the YouTube chat. She says, great show, Tommy. We missed you yesterday. Thank you for everyday wisdom. I appreciate you, T. So glad to be back with all you beautiful people here today. Joy says, friends, the guy has been making a clear effort. I need like ever before. Wait, what? Are you saying that he's been doing a good job? If that's the case, then good. I'm glad he's been doing a good job, okay? Nicole says, I have been in that position before, shake my head. It's quite a tough position to be in. Chosen One says, what do you do if he's also your manager? Like this is happening and he's also your manager, then you're in quite a conundrum because if you've been watching my show for long enough, I always remind you guys, keep your leverage. Don't date men who you work with. Definitely don't date men who are your boss. Because you might think you have leverage, but you actually have none. Especially when you sleep with him, you have you have actually negative leverage when you sleep with a man who is your boss or who is your coworker or definitely a guy who's writing your checks or could get you fired. Because now you've slept with him, so now there's nothing that he particularly wants from you. He's already gotten it from you. You're invested in him. And now when you want to set boundaries, you can't because he's your boss or your manager. and he gets to talk to you or speak to you whenever he wants, however he wants, even if you're mad and even if you're trying to withdraw. So it's a horrible situation. My advice to you is to change your job if you still want to date him. If it's not that serious, then go ahead and break up with him. Someone says, Tommy, how to deal with the guy that keeps following new girls on IG, red flag. I had a question about this the other day. Actually, I had a private question about this. And my advice to any of you who are thinking or wondering, what do I do with the guy who is constantly following multiple half-naked Instagram models and none of them follow him back? My advice to you is to let them do that. I would rather you go and find a man who is evolved enough in his mindset that he doesn't need to follow random women that are half naked and distract himself constantly by having all of that on his timeline. I'd rather you just go find a man that is already evolved enough to understand how to do that properly than to be trying to fight with a man who that is his personality and the lifestyle that he chooses to live. Okay, because this, especially this Instagram thing, what you guys have to understand is it's not a quirky character trait, right? It's a personality and a character thing. If I, as a man, don't see what's wrong with following multiple naked women and how that will have an effect on my psyche and my ability to have focus and direction in one particular place that will give me success, if I don't understand how that is distracting me or becoming an addiction for me, there's no conversation that we can have or explanation that you can give me that will bring me to the light until I decide for myself that I need a change because I want something different for myself. And I know that sounds a little bit disappointing, but you have to understand for men, especially in certain areas, they have to decide for themselves that there is a problem in my life and it needs to be changed. So I need to go about things a different way. I'm not saying that some men that follow a bunch of girls on IG can't decide for themselves that they need to make a change and they need to stop doing that. But what I mean is you're not going to be the one that brings them that change. They have to decide for themselves through some situation that they need a change. Whether it be they're really unsuccessful in their life or they hit rock bottom or whatever the case may be, and they decide I need to change my life, and then they make a change. But for the men who are not there, no conversation you're going to have with him is going to bring him there. He's just going to defend himself or think that you're crazy or gaslight you. So you're not really going to get anywhere with that conversation, unfortunately. That's just my honest advice to all of you, okay? Red says, can you explain to me, a guy I was seeing, he talked about wanting something for real and then later told me to find someone else to marry and ghosted me? Why? I didn't even take him seriously, but it stung. Well, my advice to you is I would actually, Red, I know it's going to sound really horrible, I would be thanking that man. I would be grateful to that. Now, you don't actually have to tell him thank you, but I would be grateful to that man because he actually did you a favor. Instead of allowing you to believe in some long lost dream that strings you along for multiple years or even decades, trust me, it can be decades, you got him to just tell you straight up, I'm not the guy you're looking for. And you're wasting your time even talking to me. So go ahead and talk to someone else. It might feel like it hurts at the beginning, but realize he saved you a lot of time. Because what's worse than wasting a couple of weeks or months is wasting a couple of years. What's even worse than that is wasting a decade. And trust me, there have been women, lots of them, that are in that position where they wasted decades, right, of their life, right, or years of their life on a guy who was just stringing them along and wasting their time. So be grateful to men who will actually be honest enough to tell you, I'm not the guy you're looking for. You should go and find someone else because I can't show up for you how you need a guy to show up for you. That actually is quite commendable because he's saving you a lot of time, all right? By the way, if any of you have a question for me that you want to ask me, and maybe I don't get to it on this show, even though I am trying to get some of your questions here, or it just doesn't relate to exactly what we're talking about, you can always ask me a private question through our hotline, my private hotline. Now, the way that this works is you go to, if you're watching on TikTok, go to the link in my bio on TikTok, or go down in my description on YouTube, click where it says private relationship advice, and then you can ask your question to me, type it out as many paragraphs as you want, many details as you want, and then when you submit your question to me, I respond to you with a voice message, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, and it will be sent back to your email. No one else will see it, okay? So that's for those of you who really want to get my advice or perspective on your situation, and you want me to know all the details so I can give you the best type of answer, okay? I'm all caught up on all of my private questions now, so my responses will be a lot quicker, any of you that are submitting, because I don't have a backlog. I made sure to get a lot done throughout this weekend. I had to do a lot, okay, a lot. It was a lot. All right, someone says, Drawer says, what if they keep pics of their exes on social too? If a guy keeps pictures of his ex-girlfriend on his social media, my advice to you would don't even go out on a first date with that guy. Because similar to following a whole bunch of women who don't follow him back, that are posting half-naked photos, you're never going to get a guy to see why it's wrong for him to have an ex on his profile if he's just not there mentally. You're going to end up going back and forth trying to convince him of something he doesn't want to believe in. Me personally, I would never even bother that would be my last text string to them. When I see or realize that they still have their ex posted on their social media profile, it would be my last text to them. Because there's no realistic way I could even take you serious or anything you say serious. Imagine having your ex posted on your social media and then actually believing someone when they tell you, oh, I'm over my ex. Yeah, okay, right? It just makes no sense. And when someone is at that place mentally, it's better for you to just leave them be, because you're doing yourself a disservice by even trying to like work with them or work alongside them when they're like, just think of them like at that point, you know, it's okay. But at that point, they're like a crazy person. So a crazy person that's actually insane can't even explain to you that they're crazy. They don't know that they're crazy because they're that insane. So I say that to say, if someone is that crazy and insane, in terms of like their feelings are that jumbled up and messed up, that they actually think they're over their ex while simultaneously having them posted on their social media profile still, you just have to leave that person alone. You can't explain to them how that's crazy because they're not going to see it. They're insane. So they can't explain to you how crazy they are. They think they're normal, right? Alyssa says, I love when men get on a deeper level and reach out to us and share their secrets. That's exactly what I exist in your life for. That's why this show is called The Players Club, okay? CMS says, they still have feelings for the ex or the ex's photos wouldn't be there. I 100% agree. I 100% agree, right? Osiri says, but my real question is, excuse me, who's going to teach these men how to act right? Maybe their dads? Okay. Or they're going to make a choice for themselves to be a better person. But the real answer is it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't concern you because you're not going to be with every man. You're only going to be with one man who is the man that fits the criteria of what you're looking for. So whoever can get to the place that you're looking for, those are the only people you spend your time and energy on. I know in a perfect world, you know, we teach all the men things and all the men would get better and be better. And that's not the world we live in. What I want to do for you in the Players Club is I want to help you spot the trash men, the men who don't have the qualities you're looking for, and help cultivate for you what it is that you want out of a relationship and what you want out of a man. That way, when you go out into the dating world, you can very easily sift through men and be like, oh, not what I'm looking for, not what I'm looking for, trash, trash, trash. And then when you get to a man that's actually has the qualities you're looking for, you know that it's what you're looking for. And then you also know how to approach the situation so that he continues to build his feelings for you. You only need to be the man that you're looking for. We don't need to be worried about the trash men, the men that can't do this and the men that can't do that. We just need to know how to avoid them so you don't waste time on them. That's all we want for you, right? Sneaky says, most men lie to get you in bed. That's very true. I won't lie about that, right? Maya says, what are your thoughts on Shira7? I think Shira is a great content creator. Now, do I believe in everything that she says? No. Is my message different than hers? Yes. My message is very focused on connecting with people emotionally. And I think more than just looking for a man with money and compromising some things that you feel in terms of attraction, sex, pleasure, I don't think that you should trade those in solely for money. I think there's a happy medium there. But who am I to tell you the difference between right and wrong? I'm just a human being, or maybe I am. I could be an AI also. But I'm just one person, and I'm not here to tell you who's right and who's wrong. If Shira thinks that her way about going about it is perfectly right and makes the most sense, then sure, it could be, she could be right. I could also be very wrong. Okay, I'm just a human being, right? I make mistakes also. So who knows? All right, that's for you to decide which one resonates more with you. Someone says, where can I find numbers 1 to 4? I missed them. Oh, thank you, Taylor, for reminding me. I didn't say this earlier. For those of you who missed any of the points that we discussed here today, any of the 6 points, and you're watching this on TikTok, I'm also live on YouTube at the same time as I'm live on TikTok. So you can all go onto my YouTube page, which is just above my head. It's my first name, Tomisin, on YouTube. When you go on my YouTube page, just go into the live section. Well, you'll see me live there, but even afterwards, when you go into the live section, you'll see this live stream, here, and you can rewind it and go all about, and it'll still be available for you even after the live show is over, okay? All right. Time for us to hop into our next segment of the day. It is our React segment, and our React segment is where you guys send in to me TikTok videos from around the universe, and we respond to them. They're usually about love, life, and relationships. Sometimes you guys throw in some weird stuff, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so before we hop into our React segment, I'm gonna pull up my chair and clean up a little bit. We're gonna watch an intermission video that comes from Stefan. I'm almost gonna say Steven. Stefan Speaks. Stefan Speaks is gonna be discussing with you all texting mistakes that make a man lose interest in you. And it's only going to take me a few moments, and then I will join you guys in just a little bit after Stefan Speaks gives you a little bit of a message here on texting mistakes. All right, Stefan Speaks, please take it away.
The greater chance of having better results in your life. All right. So this is a good thing. This is a chance to grow and learn in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. And please understand, these things I'm going to lay out don't just apply to when you are dating or in a relationship with a man. They really can apply to any and everybody, family, friends, coworkers, you name it. So it's still going to be good for you to hear this out, regardless of how you feel about dating. But let's continue. So there are some common mistakes. And before I get into the mistakes, I have to say this. I think we have to remember that once upon a time, phones did not exist, okay? Once upon a time, the only interaction people could have with each other was face-to-face, in person. I do believe we're getting a little too disconnected from that. We're getting too comfortable with technology, right? And I do think it is clouding people's judgment in a lot of ways. So we got to make sure that we are including a lot of in-person time when we're trying to get to know someone, all right? Especially when we're trying to get to know someone and determine if this is best for us. Now, I'm probably going to bring that point up several times throughout this video, but I had to let that be known right there, all right? Now, with that said, a mistake that a lot of women make, right? And I also have to say, I titled this video as what can make a man lose interest, but it's not really just about a man losing interest. This is also about what can get in your own way. This is also about what just has a negative impact. So just consider that as I'm listing these things for you. So the first mistake I want to mention is being offended by a man who texts way more than he calls. Hear me out. Because I know some of y'all already don't like dealing with that. Like, I have seen so many situations where women have said to me, oh, I met this guy and all he was doing was texting and I cut him off. And I'm like, did you talk to him about that? Oh, no, he's a grown man. He should know better. I get it. I completely understand, right? But unfortunately, we are living in a different time. And unfortunately, you don't know what that man has been exposed to in order for him to understand what is going to be best desired by you, the best form of communication. Because listen, there are some women watching this video and they love texting. That might be you. You may love texting. That may be your preferred method of communication, right? So if that man has dated women who prefer texting, he's not going to know that this new woman, that could be now you as well, doesn't want that or takes issue with that, okay? So we got to get over this whole common sense thing, because common sense ain't always so common. And people are raised differently. People have been through different experiences that shape how they approach things, all right? And for some men, let me say this. Some men may be texting more than calling because they don't want to come across too thirsty. They don't want to do too much, right? They don't want to be too overbearing. So it's kind of like texting sometimes for people can be like putting your foot in the water before you dive in the pool. You're just making sure, all right, there's enough interest there. And for some people, it's a matter of it's easier. It's more comfortable. However, on the flip side, I have to mention it, it can be more deceptive in my opinion. All right.
The biggest lie that they tell us in movies is that after sexy time, you just like roll over, cuddle, and go to sleep. Like, yeah, as if I'm fucking rolling over and cuddling. I'm usually screaming for a towel or I'm sprinting to the toilet. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna just roll over. I don't want a UTI. The biggest lie that they tell us in movies is that after sexy time, you just like roll over, cuddle, and go to sleep. Like, yeah, as if I'm fucking rolling over and cuddling. I'm usually screaming for a towel or I'm sprinting to the toilet. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna
Well, that's right. That is a lie. But also, it depends on the type of pineapples you're having, right? Because certain types of pineapples is going to require aftercare. So even before you get the towel, or I mean, I guess it could be after as well. You want to kind of make sure that the other person feels, safe. Like, we're returning back to normalcy, and it's okay here. Maybe you have some makeup rolling down your face, depending on what you're into. Maybe it was a really tough session. I'm trying not to get too graphic here. So aftercare might take the place of going and getting a towel, going and getting a tissue paper or things like that. So in certain cases, rolling over and cuddling might actually be the thing that you need at that time before you get the towel. But depends on what you're into. If you don't know what I'm saying, it doesn't apply to you at all. Don't worry.
3 things that you can do to him that will genuinely make him fall in love. And these are physical things that you can do with him the next time you guys hang out. And I am telling you, if you do this right, not only will he fall in love, but he will never leave you. Starting off with number 1, now only do this if he works out. But if he does work out, even just a little bit, what you gotta do is next time you see him, walk up to him, feel his arm, and just be like, whoa, you've been hitting the gym, huh?
If you want to get deeper with
Sorry, I didn't mean to skip it. Just don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. That's not going to make a man fall in love with you. All you're doing is boosting his ego. For what? For no reason. Because he's not going to take that confidence and be like, oh my God, thank you for giving me an ego boost. Now I want to marry you. That's not okay. I know what people are trying to do, like what they're thinking in their mind when they're thinking of what. See, this is the thing that sometimes guys struggle with. They struggle with explaining to you the difference between what makes them feel good as a guy versus what actually gets them to move and take action in a way that you would want. So
He will never leave.
the reason that I describe to you guys certain things about guys and the way that they think is because there are things that feel good for me to receive as a man. But I also know that there are certain things that if I get that or receive that or see that from a woman, it's going to get me or trigger me to respond in a particular way. So when I'm giving you advice, I give you advice based on what will get you the result that I know you want or the response that I know you want. And a lot of times it doesn't mean making me feel good, as weird as that might sound. So it really requires a lot of self-awareness to be able to give women advice on what actually gets men to move for them. But whatever.
Leave you. Starting off with number 1, now only do
Yeah,
this if
we're
you
gonna
go
skip
to him,
that.
feel his arm, and just be like, whoa, you've been hitting the gym, huh? I'm telling you right now, this may not seem like much, but in a guy's mind, this is everything. Not only will he be happy that a girl is noticing his gains, which almost never happens, but what this will do is make it so that every time he works out, he is now working out for you. Now, the second thing is that
Somehow he was able to make it worse. I thought he was just going to go with his bad point and just leave it at that. Why would he do this? I've seen this guy make some good videos before. His name is Tyler. I've seen him make some decent videos before. I don't know why he would go to here. I don't know why he would go here. I don't know why he would come up with this as this is not content. This is horrible. Because guys, why would he be working out for you simply because you complimented it? Okay, whatever. I mean, I don't want to go too off.
This dude is probably already in love with you and you just don't know. But the quickest and easiest way to check is to see if he is stalking your Instagram. All you have to do is hit the arrow in the bottom right corner and then hit Instagram direct. And if his name is on the list that pops up, he is already stalking your Instagram daily. And for number 3.
Okay, don't do this, chat. Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a couple of secrets because I don't care about this. Okay, it's just a little bit of a play for him to get engagement. Okay, that's not a real thing.
You gotta use the flip eye method. This is probably one of the most underrated methods out there. Like, nobody talks about it. But people that are good at the flip eye method can literally have anybody that they want. But just be careful not to use it too much because he will catch on and know exactly what you are doing. 3 things.
If you want to get deeper with someone, like if you want to go deeper with a family member, a friendship, if you want to get deeper with your friends or a romantic connection or a romantic relationship, a boyfriend, a partner, you need to Google New York Times 36 questions in love and you need to play that game. Basically, like a decade ago, some researchers and psychiatrists and psychologists got together and they put together 36 questions that they thought if you asked a stranger, you guys would like form a deep connection or fall in love. And then they put a bunch of strangers together and had them ask each other these questions. And it takes a long time because the questions are like deep and interesting and philosophical. Some of them aren't, but some of them are. All of the relationships that I have in my life are incredibly deep. There is depth there. You know, like I feel like I know that the majority of the friends that I have now, like that I'm concrete with, aren't going anywhere because of the depth that we've been able to achieve. But we've been able to achieve that depth by doing things like this. Of course, we've spent a lot of time together and fostered a lovely connection and we love each other, but we've also like played these types of games that facilitate deeper conversation. Not just like a skill set everybody has, like how to facilitate deep conversation. And it's kind of awkward to be like, what are 3 things you'd bring to a date? You know, like those like icebreakery type questions. These questions are really, really, really good. On maybe my 5th date with my fiance, I recommended that we make a batch of margaritas and play the 36 questions in love. And we played it and I feel like it took our relationship from like here to here. Like we knew so much more about one another. We really got to know each other's fears and like interests, and it's not like a too much thing. The questions aren't like insane. They're just like really intentional and there's a depth to them as you go through them. Like the beginning ones are more chill and then the later ones are more intense. And it's just really fun. Like I like to get to know someone and talk it out, and I feel like the art of deep conversation and communication and like conversation pit style conversation. Like in the 70s, they would sit in those conversation pits and just chat. I feel like that chatting has like gone away. Like I feel like everybody likes to talk about like scrolling next to my best friend. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I also do that. But these kinds of things are like healthy. And I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the New York Times 36 questions in a while. It's a really good way to get deep with someone if you're trying to get.
Okay, I like what she's saying here because I love asking people questions, and I know for other people it's a little bit more difficult, and it doesn't come to you as easy. But I always advise that anything that you're doing in terms of romance, you want to be focused on like understanding the other person. Keyword, understanding. I didn't say judging or trying to change the other person, because that can be a big mistake that you make as well. When you start going on dates with people, you have this idea of what you want, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. You have this idea of your perfect man. But then when you start dating a guy that you find interesting, it's like you want him to answer your questions the way that your perfect man would answer your questions. And then when he doesn't answer them that way, or he tells you things that make you a little bit unhappy, you make a face, you start judging him, you don't like it, and you want to move on to a different subject, right? For some of you, it's like the ex. You meet a guy that you like or you think is fine and you think he's really handsome and the things that you're looking for, you're like, oh, I don't want you to talk about your ex because I want to feel like you just started knowing love when you met me. And I don't want to imagine a situation in which you have any experience in life outside of me. But that's a mistake because you're not getting a chance and an opportunity to understand that man. And unfortunately, and also fortunately, the more time you spend trying to understand the human being, the more realizations you'll come to about whether or not you and that person are compatible. So yes, it'll be painful because you won't be able to live in a fantasy, but you'll also have a very clear, remember, clarity is your friend. Confusion is your enemy. Clarity, you'll have a lot more clarity on exactly who that person is and what they're about. Okay? Does that make sense? And that'll tell you if you're compatible or not.
Avoidants are only good as fuck buddies or situationships, and short-term situationships at that. Now, you're probably wondering, why would I say some crazy shit like that? It's because all they do is avoid and they like their own independence. Like, really think about it. If they grew up only knowing the love they got for themselves, but not the love from the parents or friends or anybody else, then they're gonna make decisions based off that love. So how they treat themselves is how they wanna be treated by anybody that comes into their lives. And most of the times, avoidance damage their shit. They damage themselves. They do good in a couple of areas in their life, but damage to others. But the thing about them is they want to stay in that damage. They don't want to leave that shit. So say someone good or someone genuine comes into their life and shows them love that they never had. They'll remember it. They might play along for a bit, but then they'll self-sabotage it because it's shit that they're not used to. But if, say, someone comes in and just wants to make them a fuck buddy, a situationship, doesn't actually want to take them full on serious, that's the love they got for themselves majority of the time. And they like that, so they stay with that. They'll stay.
I've had to work on, because I'm an avoidant as well, I've had to work on my avoidance by understanding, being self-aware of how I'll respond to situations and the type of things that'll trigger me, but then giving some sort of balance where I can still be my natural avoidant self, but in a way that's less extreme. So I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. So for example, if I know that my natural instinct, if I'm in a fight or a disagreement with someone or, whatever happens between us, is to just literally not speak to them, not text them back, not contact them for a week or whatever the case may be. That's whatever. And I know that that's naturally how I'll respond to a situation, but I also know that I'm trying to build a real relationship and connection with that person. Obviously, that's unsustainable. So if I have an issue with someone, rather than taking a week, which would make an unsustainable situation, I will take a day or maybe two and understand that, like, while I want to naturally be an avoidant, there comes a point where you have to work with people. If you want to be in a romantic relationship with people, it can't just be you getting your way, doing exactly what you want, exactly how you want to do it. So there's a balance and an equilibrium there. But it also takes me as an avoidant having a desire to make relationships work. If I don't have a desire to help my relationship help itself and be successful, then I won't work on this. I won't try to manage it, and I won't try to actually not be so avoidant to the point where it ruins all of my relationships, right? If you're avoidant to the point where it's just sabotaging your relationships and you don't have a desire to change it, then nothing will change, of course.
Another thing, like, you bitches act like when a nigga telling you about the next bitch, and he talking down to her, that's like music to y'all ears. Bitch, did it ever cross your mind that he's still talking about his ex? Wouldn't that piss you off? Because if a nigga come lay up with me and talking about his old bitch, nigga, you might as well go be with that bitch, right? Because why you still talking about her? Why is you even all ears listening to a nigga talk down on the next bitch? Bitch, he love that bitch. He love that bitch. If he talking down on her to you and you laid up with him, bitch, go get you a new nigga. Because that nigga ain't think about you. He think about his bitch, and you are not her. Another thing.
I don't like this way of thinking. I don't like this way of thinking because it encourages you to not talk about one of the most important parts of understanding the human being who you're laying next to. Anytime you adopt the mentality that these topics of conversation are off limits and I don't want to hear about them, you're only sabotaging yourself. You're the only one that's going to suffer, because that means you're going to receive less information about that person. So even if you're successful in getting a guy to not talk about his ex because you're like thinking like she is, no diss against her, but you're thinking like she is, thinking, I don't want to hear nothing about no ex. You better not come lay up with me and talk about no ex and da-da-da-da. Even if you get a guy to adopt that same mentality and agree with you and not say a word about his ex, don't think that if anything weird or shady is going on, that it's going to stop going on just because he's not talking about it. And don't think that if he was in love with his ex, he's magically not going to be in love with his ex just because he doesn't talk to you about it. So realize what's actually happening here. Instead of you knowing the truth and knowing what's going on and encouraging him to talk so you have the information and you're aware of what's happening, instead, this will be happening right under your nose, and you'll be letting guys know even before they get a chance to tell you about anything, you'll be letting them know that you don't want to hear anything. That doesn't mean that nothing is happening. You just don't want to hear about it. But you want to know how you'll experience it down the line when you catch him still sleeping with his ex. You're going to find out one way or another. Okay? That's part of the, honestly, the amazing part about life. It'll come one way or another. So if you want to be the person that lives in La La Land and lives in your fantasy where you don't talk about anything real and certain things are off limits, you can be in your fantasy, but just let it be known you are in a fantasy. And one day reality is going to hit you, and it's going to hit you very hard and very fast. And then the number one thing you'll be wishing when reality hits you is, I wish I would have known the truth sooner. Okay. All right, chat. Let's hop into our next segment of our show. Our next segment is very exciting. Okay. A little bit more happier than we just ended off here. But for those of you who know what is coming, please spam it up in the chat. It's a very amazing time. It's an awesome time. It is a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to definitely cry depending on the situation here. Let me just make sure I get this off the screen here. Look at that. Look at that. Trying to ruin my moment here. All right. Those of you who know what's coming up, please spam it in the chat because you know how awesome this is and you know how much fun we're about to have, okay? Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your entire home, okay? It's an amazing time. It's an awesome time. And it's a time you're going to laugh and cry. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. I'm going to whisper so it's not super loud. Discord time. Yeah. Okay, chat. Oh, that was for those of you who like to turn your headphones down because I'd be yelling. All right. All right. Let's hop into our Discord time. For those of you who don't know what that is, I'm going to explain this to you right here. So we're all on the same page. Discord time is essentially where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about what the hell. Get an opportunity to ask me a question about their situationship or their relationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you the different ways in which you can submit to me a question so that we're all on the same page of the three versions of submission you can do. First version is through our free relationship advice forum. This is accessed by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or my description on YouTube. Click where it says Players Club Discord. And then when you hop into the Discord, you just drop your question into our relationship advice forum here. Now you'll see all of these highlighted questions are questions that I haven't yet gotten to. And it's a first come, first serve forum. So I have to answer these questions first before I can get to your question. Okay. So if you ask your question here today, it's probably going to take me, you can see the oldest question is 29 days. It's probably going to take me 2 to 3 weeks to get to your question if you ask yours today, because of the queue that I have to go through before I can get to yours. Now, if you don't want to wait that long to get your question answered because you're an impatient type of person and you can't be bothered to wait that long, there's also our second way to submit your question, which is our premium relationship advice forum. Now, the way that this works is that when you go to the link in my bio on TikTok or my description on YouTube, you can click where it says premium Discord relationship advice. When you click that, you get an opportunity to donate to the show. It's also going to prompt you to put in your username on Discord and the title of your question. Then when you drop it in here, you can put in your question, and it'll, after you send in your donation and your information, it'll pop up on my phone. It'll show me that that's your donation and that's your question. And then when you drop your question in here, I read these ones in the premium section out first because they get to like skip the line before I read any of the questions out in the free section. Okay. So to keep it fair, that's how we do that. Now, the third way to submit your question is through our private relationship advice link. And the way that this works is you're able to send me in a question. If you don't want your information to be read out on the show and things like that, you're able to send me in a private question. And that is through the link this is in our Discord. It's also in my bio on TikTok. When you click that link in my bio on TikTok or in the description, and then where it says private relationship advice, you click that link. Then you submit your question, type it out as many paragraphs as you want. And then when you send it in to me, I respond with a voice message and I send it back to your email and no one else sees it. It doesn't go on the show or anything like that. So that's your 3 options to send me in a question. Now, I don't believe we had any premium questions to do here today. So we're going to hop right into our free section, which means I'm going to have to scroll down real far here to be able to get to our latest free question. Okay, so we did that one, I believe. Yes. And then so this one is next. All right. This comes from LP Baby. This says cleansing trauma and energy from pineapples need an exorcism, I think. Oh my gosh. Okay. Dear Mr. Atobatele, in the How Men View Sex episode 5852 timestamp. Wow, you're really getting to the nitty gritty. You said sex is a transfer of energy, 100%, and you can receive a man's trauma and energy. Yeah, it's I believe, what's the term? There's a term for it. It's called sexual, is it transmutation? Something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Something along those lines. There's a term for it though. That was deep, pun intended. How can I cleanse any trauma or energy that I may have received from my exes after having pineapples? This is a great question. For example, pineapples felt like grape. Okay, trigger warning. It was always painful and felt like a chore, and I was always tired, lethargic, sad after the act. I realized this isn't a very good sign. You always say in some of your shows, you're the friend who says it's always that deep. I agree. I always think it's that deep. So, well, now I need you to be a father to tell me, why is that deep? Why is this that deep? Why is this that deep? Okay. Please advise because I need an exorcism. Wait, what? I think you meant to say I F my ex who had pineapples with men and women. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I slept with my ex who had pineapples with both men and women. So I collected some weirdo, gamer, bi, corny, unholy energy, and I need to remove that from my spirit and soul. Wow, okay. Also, why did you stretch when I said I would fantasize about my other ex, chubby, light-skinned Latin, who was a good eater? My manly coworker, other men, when having pineapples with my recent shy bi gamer ex. Okay, you're asking a lot in one question. So the reason I had that response is because you have to understand, you're not a bad person for feeling that way, but you're in a very bad place in your romantic relationship if you're with a guy and every time you sleep with the guy that is supposed to be the love of your life, right? That you're supposed to eventually get married to because you're supposed to be dating to get married. The guy that you're eventually going to make your husband, if you're sleeping with him and every time you sleep with him, you're fantasizing about a previous partner or fantasizing about a coworker or fantasizing about another man at all, that is very, very, very bad for the state of your relationship, your own mental state, and where things will end up. Because make no mistake about it, if you're doing that at that point, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, it will only get worse, and your desire to act on your fantasies will only become increasingly more intense. So at a certain point, you'll start to feel like, oh, it's just a fantasy, it's whatever, I just use it to get off. Then after a certain point, you'll start to feel like, oh, I really feel unsatisfied in my relationship. And then after some time and things happening and you interacting with other men, you might actually end up acting on these fantasies because they become so intense and so much at the front of your mind that you feel a little bit out of control of them. And as these fantasies start, presenting themselves in the interactions that you're actually having with guys, then it starts to become a little bit very difficult to manage. I'll just say it like that. That's why it was very concerning to me, and I stood up just to take a break, okay? Is imagining other men while having pineapples with my current partner bad? It's very bad. And if any of you are in a situation where you're doing this, you're fantasizing about another man while sleeping with your current man, leave the relationship. The relationship, consider it already over, okay? If you ever get to that point, your relationship is over. You cannot sustain a relationship with a man when you're fantasizing about another man, okay? While sleeping with that guy. That is completely unsustainable. Don't think, oh, but I'm getting money. Oh, but he takes care of me. Oh, but this. Oh, but your relationship is done. It's cooked. That means you have no respect for him and you have no desire or attraction towards him. If that's the case, you can't even see him as a man. And that's going to manifest itself in the way that you treat him, the way that you speak to him, and the way that you view him. You're supposed to see him as your man, okay? And this is completely the opposite of that if you're fantasizing about another man while sleeping with that man, okay? Is that considered emotional cheating? I thought men did it all okay, men don't, okay. In a healthy relationship, this is not supposed to be happening. So sure, maybe men do it, but does that mean it's a healthy relationship? Absolutely not. If a guy told me that about his partner as well, I would tell him leave that woman immediately because your relationship is already over. You can't be fantasizing about other people while you're with your partner. That's not sustainable at all. I know he doesn't. It doesn't make it right, but I love to know your thoughts, please. Why'd you spell thoughts like that? Okay. Also, my ex never ejaculated. Okay. AKA came. Right? After any type of foreplay or pineapple activities. That's very strange. I won't lie. That's very strange. Just wanted to know, as a man, is this normal? No, that's absolutely not normal. Okay. And you also said he's bi. So if you notice that he was never ejaculating, and also, let's just say for the sake of example, I don't know if you were in this situation, but if you also notice he's really specifically into butt stuff, because I've had some people ask me about that. Why is the guy that I'm dating only want to be in my butt? He doesn't even want to, have pineapples. He just wants to be in my butt. That's also something to take account of because that's strange, right? For if he likes women and likes women genitalia and likes women's bodies, he should not be so hyper fixated on your butt and being in your, I'm not talking about your butt, the outside. I'm talking about being in your butt. That's very strange behavior for a man who's supposed to be into girls, okay? I'll just say it like that. Obviously, he's bi, but then we have to think if it's on a spectrum, how into women is he really if he's desperate for your butt, okay? Why keep his swimmers inside, okay? Yeah, I just explained it. My other ex, the straight, chubby, light-skinned Latin good eater, before the recent one, loved busting it out after, so I was a Twinkie and toaster strudel. Please let me know your thoughts. Why do you keep spelling it like this? Is this all right? I'm going to church. Oh, that's the next sentence. I'm going to church. I'm going to church. I can't believe you put those sentences back to back like that. Reading the Bible. Praise God. But like I said, I think I need to be doing more to rid myself of this energy I acquired via pineapples. Thank you and my warmest regard. There's something inside, but there is something inside you. There definitely is something inside you, okay? Now, let's address, like on a really serious note, let's address some of the things that you mentioned here. When we're talking about the trauma, okay, first and most important thing that I always advise any of you to do if you're facing trauma, especially trauma from your last relationship, the first and most important thing is to acknowledge to yourself that it happened. So there's multiple ways you can do that. Obviously, if you have a therapist, you can do it that way. I know that not all of us have access to a therapist or the money for it. That's fine. The other way that you can do that in terms of acknowledging it happening, I know this is going to sound a little bit silly, but if you really want to work towards cleansing your soul of it, is you got to write it down. You're going to write it down, and I mean write it down in grave detail. Write down everything that happened, write down everything that you felt, write down everything you experienced and every thought you had every step of the way. You know what I mean? Be as detailed as you possibly can. And you're going to be writing until your hand cramps. Get every single thought that you possibly can get out onto a paper. And very, very specific, I say write it. Don't type it out. Because for this, we want there to be a physical release for the mental, weight that's in your mind, especially if it's something very deep and very painful for you. So the act of actually writing with your wrist and how much writing you're going to have to do is giving you like a physical release for all of that mental kind of pain and anguish, right? So it's good for that as well. When you finish writing as much as you can possibly write and everything that you felt about it, then I also want you to go back over it and then I want you to read it out loud to yourself. No one has to be around you. You're going to read it out loud to yourself. And the reason I want you to read it out loud is because also I want you to finally get the ability to say it in detail as it actually happened and as you actually felt it. Because this is also cementing in your mind that this is real and this actually happened to you. Part of sometimes when things can feel like they're a weight on your shoulders is because you feel like you haven't been able to get it out of your system and tell someone about it. And obviously, we don't all have access to therapists. So when you read it out loud on a paper, it will allow you to realize, okay, like this really happened and this is what really happened to me. Now, I'm not saying it immediately makes it better, but it also allows you to cleanse yourself of it. I'm not saying you'll feel immediately all of a sudden 100% better and you'll never have to think about it again, but you'll feel like you got something out somewhere. It's on that paper. You read it out there. You know that that's what you feel and you know that that's what happened in the situation that you have been through, okay? And my advice to you is you can go about it after you finish reading it out. You can go about it a couple of different ways. My advice to you is after you write it all out and you read it all out and you really feel it and sit in it for a little bit, then my advice to you would be to rip it up and light it on fire and throw it in the garbage can and watch it burn, okay? I'm not saying it's going to make you feel better in an instant, but it's a little bit of a physical representation of I get it out. I acknowledge that it's real. I acknowledge that it's happened. And now that I know it's happened, I'm not going to let that hold me back anymore. I know it sounds very silly to be doing and stuff like that, but when we're talking about getting through situations like this is a really good way to at least allow yourself to feel like, okay, I've been through it. This is part of my story, but I'm not letting it hold me back anymore, right? It's a little bit of a thing, right? Someone said flush it. You can also flush it. It's the same thing. I think the reason I say burning is because the burning will give you a lot of sensation. You'll smell the fire, which will do something to your brain as well. You'll see the light, right? And you'll see it burning slowly, which will do something to your ability to feel like, oh, I'm letting go of it now type of thing, right? So that's my advice to you if you really want to kind of work through this situation. Now, as it relates to the other things here, I kind of described why it's bad to be imagining someone else while you're sleeping with someone else. And when it comes to a guy should be ejaculating with you if he's turned on and he likes sleeping with you. If he's not, that's very strange, okay? That's just very unnatural for him to never be ejaculating. As it relates to going to church, continue going to church, continue reading your Bible. And definitely, with the experiences that you've had, I think maybe you want to take your next relationship very slow. And in that time period, get yourself a little bit closer to God so that you can kind of also cleanse yourself and your soul of that experience. Because you also don't want that experience to be carried into your new relationships, that you end up in a place where when that new guy is touching you, you're like having flashbacks of the old situation. You want to be able to give yourself some time to like work through that mentally as well. So, and I really mean that, not even in a joking way, but because pineapples should be an enjoyable activity for you, not something that feels like it's re-traumatizing you, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Let's see. Okay, so we did one LP baby, so we're going to give someone else a chance. Lola Monroe's question was answered, yes. And then we'll go up here. Okay, Purple Rain, we did What the Hike, yes. He came back and took a bottle to wait, what? He came back and took a bottle to his head. Mimi, hi Thompson, I love your channel. So I'm 20 and he is 22 and we have been together since I was 15 years old. We met on chat. All right, I'm gonna have to realign my chakras for this for sure, because we're in the first two sentences. This is gonna be very bad. I already know this is gonna be very bad. Okay, I can tell from the title and the first few. This is gonna be very bad. So I'm gonna get up and stretch. I'm gonna realign my chakras a little bit. Do some downward dog. Gonna stretch out my back. My back is tight after seeing things like this. So I just gotta do a little bit of realigning because this is gonna take me some places. LP baby was already deep into the depths of despair here with non-ejaculation and all those other type of things. All right, let's get right here. Okay, we're gonna have to lock in, chat. All right. Okay. Why are you 50? Oh. When you get kids, class, make sure you monitoring those damn kids. 15 years old on Hitch. My daughter ain't going to you think she gonna have a phone? Oh, I'm kidding. Okay. So I didn't even see that. Okay. I thought you really, I don't even read the next thing. I was so traumatized by the 15 years old on Hinge. Okay. I'm kidding. I just wanted to see her. Okay. Yeah, funny. You're real funny. We met at school. Right. He has his own business and I'm in university currently. Okay. About a few weeks ago, he stopped being with me and I moved away. I stopped seeing his stories and answering him, and he came to my house to talk. Wait. About a few weeks ago, he stopped being with me and I moved away. I stopped seeing his stories and answering him, and he came to my house to talk. Okay? I'm sorry, this timeline is a little bit confusing for me. As there were people at home, we went to his house for dinner, but it ended in tragedy because a man got into me on the street and he went to fight with the man, but he took a bottle to the head. So we went to the hospital and I spent the night with him at home as I needed to be accompanied for the next 24 hours. Okay. I was feeling very strong and controlling my emotions, but when I saw him bleed with the bottle, I lost all control because I really love him and it's been 5 years together. After that, he told me that he was with one girl, but that he was really sorry because he likes me and that my company is the best he could have ever had. He also said that I make him feel things that he has never felt for anyone else. I applied everything you teach about talking about him, asking questions about him. He said he needs me and that he can't lose me, but that now he's in a difficult situation and doesn't know how to solve it. He also said that I stopped answering him and stopped seeing his stories. You are right. Men notice these things and get anxious. He said that he missed spending time with. Is he saying this while he has bandages around his head? Like, is he like bleeding profusely in the hospital bed while he's telling you these things? Coming to my house and that my body was the most perfect he has ever seen. That I am canon. What is that? That I'm a canon? Is this a white people I'm not familiar with this term. Is this how white guys talk? When they think you're hot, they say you're a canon? I didn't know that would chat. Please teach me. I don't know if that's terminology. I don't know that one. And that he really likes me in every way. Okay, you're a canon. All right. I'm very confused about what to do and how to solve the situation. Can he heal first? Can he heal his head? His head is profusely bleeding. Can he heal first? But I know that maybe he has a concussion. Does he have a concussion while he's telling you these things? I'm not trying to be mean, But does he have if he's spilling all his feelings while he has a concussion, is that how he really feels? Anyways, but I know that I can't be the one to solve it because he is the only one who can solve it. You're 100% correct. What do you think I can do to control my emotions after this? And what do I do to make him recommit to me and leave the other girl for good and this never happens again? What? Wait, okay. So when you're saying leave the other girl, now you're confusing me a little bit. It's been 5 years together, you and him. But when you're saying leave the other girl, this doesn't sound like he's in between talking stages. Like you're making it sound like he's in between talking stages. You're saying leave the other girl. That sounds like he has a commitment to the other girl, which means is that his girlfriend? I know that you were kidding up here, but I think that you left out some important parts of the timeline here that would give me a lot of understanding of what's going on here. Because you mentioned the fact that a few weeks ago he stopped being with you and moved away, but so when he moved away, were you guys in a relationship, or are you saying for the past 5 years you guys have just been going back and forth, right? On and off. Because if that's the case, and you were never his girlfriend really throughout this time, and he has some sort of commitment to another woman, then you're more representing a little bit of a side chick than you are the main girl. That's the only thing here that I want to get straight. Because when you're saying I really love him and it's been 5 years together, that's not really true. Like it's been 5 years you've known him. You guys haven't been in a relationship though for all of those 5 years. So it's a little that like your confusion towards the state of your relationship is also confusing you on how to go about this. Now, let me be very clear though. My advice to you, Mimi, is to do nothing. And specifically in this case, do nothing because even if, let's just say he's not concussed, okay? Let's say he actually means this while he said, even though he took a bottle to the head. And I don't know if that was a Casamigos bottle. Those bottles are thick. 1942, the hen bottle, that's thick glass. I've seen, in my day as a promoter, I've seen some people take a bottle to the head. All of them went to the hospital. So he took a bottle to the head. He could be concussed. I really mean that. That's life or death situation. So I say that to say, I understand that he's saying these things to you now, but like you mentioned in your message, you can't do anything about that. If he is like, oh, you know, you're the girl I want to spend my time with, and I really liked you, and da 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 da, and like you're saying, everything that you've applied a lot of the stuff that I talk about, and he really wanted you or wants to be with you. If that's the case, cool. He's got to be the one to act on that if that's really how he feels. It's not your job to take that information in and then give him some sort of play-by-play on how he's then gonna be able to be like what? Like he's not telling you that for you to take the reins. Even if he's telling you that, you just have to accept as, okay, that's information that I know now, cool, but you're the one that decides what you're going to do with that information. I know it's a very painful place to be in because you feel kind of like helpless, but the reality of it is he's the man. So if he's confessing his feelings of you and for you, he has to decide what he's going to do with those feelings. And if the decision is I'm going to do nothing with those feelings and just go on like life is moving on, then that's his choice. Because the moment you start thinking to yourself, well, maybe I should do this and text him more and reach out to him more and do this and ask him out on a date and call him and to try and like help him realize what the next step should be, you will be doing the man's job, which you should never be doing. And you'll be undoing all of this work that you put into being enticing and attractive towards him. So do nothing and let him decide if truly his feelings and his interest in you is that high. He should be the one to decide, you know what, I want to start exploring a relationship with you. At which point, let's just say for the sake of example, he asks you out on a date or something like that. Then you can say, look, I'm not going to be dating someone that is actively in a relationship with someone else. You're not going to tell him to end his relationship with the other girl. You're just going to tell him, if you want to date me, then in order to date me, you can't be dating other people, or you can't be in an already existing relationship with someone else. And then you let him make a decision on whether or not he wants to end that and actually focus on you, or if it's not that important to him. Okay? That's my honest advice to you. Hopefully he can recover from his bottling and concussion. Hopefully. Okay. Wish him and you the best of luck. All right. Let's go on to our next question here. This one comes from C. C says, when would I initiate or plan a date? Oh boy. Okay. Hi, Thompson. I've been dating this guy for 2 months. We're both 25. We've only been going out once a week. Excuse me. I don't text or call him like you said, which has made him plan all the dates so far, which have been high quality dates. That's great. It's making him frustrated low key. That's actually still great. Cause he brought up how I never initiate or plan. That's still great. But I wanted to know at what point would I be the one planning, or if I can plan a date like once in a while, or do I wait until it's official with him? So I love this. I love that you're even asking this question, because I know that a lot of you will end up in this situation at some point. When the advice and the strategies that I give you end up working so well, you will get guys doing a lot of work for you and pursuing you and being consistent with you. But what will happen in the process of him being so consistent with you? See, this is the kind of funny thing about how these strategies work, is that you can actually have this work. So see, when you're learning this stuff, you're in the minority. So most women aren't learning these things, which means that when men are going about their dating life, they're not getting treated like this by a lot of other women, because a lot of the other women don't have the emotional self-control and understanding of how men respond to different things. So for some men, when they find themselves really investing in a woman for the first time, it's like a shock to them. They almost feel a little bit out of control and out of sorts, because they're like, oh my gosh, like I really like you. And I don't know why I really like you. And they'll also be like, I'm investing so much more in you than I've ever invested in any other woman. And I don't even know why I'm doing this. I just feel compelled to do it. And it's almost like a little bit of a magic trick. So what he's expressing in his frustration is actually not a bad thing. He's just expressing the fact that, like, wow, I feel like I like you so much more than you like me. And especially if a guy is not used to that dynamic and is used to just having women, be so attached and so wanting him so much and doing so much work, this is kind of a weird place for him to be. So the frustration he's expressing is not really about something you're doing wrong. It's just about a very strange and unusual place for him to be in a relationship. But understand, he's not going to actually stop doing what he's been doing just because he expresses that frustration, which is the counterintuitive part of expressing frustration. You think to yourself, well, maybe he's going to stop asking me out on dates because he's frustrated that I'm not initiating the dates. He won't, because what he's actually telling you is, I like you a lot. I just don't feel like you like me as much as I like you. And it's a little bit anxiety inducing because I want to feel like you like me even more than I like you, so that I'm more at peace and more comfortable. But the thing is, if you actually make a guy feel that comfortable and that at peace, that you like him so much more than he likes you, he will stop doing work for you, which is the weirdest part. And he'll stop putting forth all that effort to feel some of that validation, like you want him just as much as he likes you. What we want to do is we want to keep him frustrated, and we want to keep him feeling like the only place he can get some sort of validation from you, like there's, you like him a little bit as well, is by asking you out on these dates and getting that energy from you in person. That's the best way you want to kind of keep this in its place. And your response should be, oh, I understand what you're saying. Let him speak his truth. Let him tell you his feelings towards this. Let him tell you why he feels like, you don't initiate. You let him give you all the examples and, talk to you in bulletproof points like I talk to you guys on the show. And let him feel heard and seen. And then after that, I want you to go back to doing the exact same thing that you were doing before. Okay? You're not going to change up anything. Every time he expressed frustration, you hear him out, you let him speak his piece, and you go back to doing what you were doing before. Trust me, nothing needs to change. You're getting exactly what you want, exactly how you want it, and the relationship is progressing properly because everyone is playing their roles. See, in this new age and world that we have, sometimes guys are so not used to playing the masculine role, it's weird for them to be playing this role. We're going to help him unlearn that, okay? But you're going to do it in your nice, kind, feminine way where you allow things to just transpire without him feeling controlled by you. Okay? Because every time he makes a decision to ask you out on a date, every time he makes a decision to like progress this relationship forward, what he can't do is when he starts treating you bad, pretend as if he was doing this because you were leading this on, or he was just going along with what you wanted. See, this is the great part about getting guys to initiate and getting guys to do the leading. When it's time to take accountability, the one excuse he can't give you is that, oh, I only went along with what you wanted. I only asked you out or was dating you because I didn't want to make you mad or I didn't want to disappoint you. So when you hold him accountable or you tell him some things that you don't like or tell him some things that weren't working for you, he's forced to be in a position where he has to actually make adjustments for you because he didn't do all this work in getting you here and asking you out and taking you out on dates to not get you in the end. So if you're expressing unhappiness, he has to be accountable to that and figure out how he can make you happy again, which is why this works so well, which is why I don't want you changing up anything, okay? Because I guarantee you, moment you change that up and you let yourself be the one taking the lead, he will then turn back around and say, yeah, I was just going along with what you wanted. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. It was kind of all you. Don't do that. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to end up in that situation, okay? All right, let's go into our next question here. Okay, that one was deleted by X. This one is an LP baby, so we'll save that for later. This one, it comes from Liv, okay? Oh boy. Used by my guy best friend of 3 years. Oh man. Hi, I'm 18. Chat, should I finish reading this out? She's 18. And you know our rule about age in the chat. But should I continue? I'm going to let you guys decide in the chat. Should I continue reading it out or should I just skip it? I feel like we need like some sort of poll. Next, or so are we going or are we no? Okay. I see a lot of no's. Policy is policy. Yeah. Nothing against you, Liv, but we like to keep it 20 and above because under 20, a lot of the situations are, I'll just be honest with you, a lot more trivial and a lot more based on the fact that when you're so young, no one understands themselves or how they fit into the world. So it's very difficult to really get any direction from men. Okay, let's hop into our next question. This comes from Girly Girl. What to do? Tomisin, I don't know how to handle my relationship anymore. It's going to be a little long today. Okay, and you mean like in your message? I am 26. He is 29. We are boyfriend and girlfriend since September. Let me just make sure I didn't answer this. Okay. She just put this in here. All right. Yeah. We are boyfriend and girlfriend since September. We are in our 5th month together. It is still pretty new and I am still learning about him. Questioning, being skeptical, and I try as much as I can to have information. For New Year's Eve, he effed up and I'm still mad about it. We didn't spend New Year's Eve together. Initially, he didn't have plans besides staying home. It frustrated me because though he didn't have plans for himself, I wished he would have asked me to hang together. He didn't. Later that night, he ended up going to a party. It wasn't a big party. He went to his friend's house and there were 15 to 20 people. He didn't ask me to join him. To me, so far, it was a red flag. So at this point, this is your boyfriend, right? So, okay, just making sure. So yeah, it would be appropriate for him to ask you or say something to you. That night, we were on the phone until probably 11:45 p.m., okay? And I asked him why he didn't invite me. I hate asking this type of question because I feel like a pick-me a pick-me-sha, you meant to say, and I feel like I'm nagging. But I didn't know what else to do at that very moment. Yes, I could have gone out on my own for sure. However, I had a long day at work and that day, and honestly, I was tired. I am still upset about it today. When I asked him why he didn't invite me, he said, "But babe, it's not a big deal. We are always together and it wasn't even really planned for me. I was already a +1 and I need some space too." Ooh, okay. Okay, we're going to come back to this. This is very important here. Bruh, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, don't you worry. You'll have all the space you want. I will definitely stay far, far away. The next day, I went on with my day and had an amazing booty workout. I was feeling good because I had a long, refreshing night. I didn't want to think about him or what happened anymore. He ended up calling me the next day per usual. Side note, our phone call dynamic in our relationship has always been the same since day one. He calls me every day. I never had to initiate no calls unless I need to and or if it's important. So if he doesn't call, I do not either. Part 2. So since I got busy after New Year's Eve night because of my activities and work, I didn't really think about it. Now it's the weekend. The following weekend after New Year's Eve, January the 4th, he has had a tournament. He coaches in a club for teenagers and they have tournaments once a month. He invited me to join him to all of his tournaments he went to these past 4 months. However, these past 2 tournaments, he didn't invite me to join him, which made me feel really frustrated. Why doesn't he want me around? I don't know. The first tournament that I didn't go to, I let slide. I was okay with it and didn't question why he didn't want me to come. Now, this is the second one that he doesn't invite me. The night before he leaves to the tournament yesterday, he slept over to my place and I did ask him, so you don't want me to go with you anymore? Tomisin, I don't know how to bring up this type of issue. His response was, I forgot about it. I got reminded at the last minute, blah, 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 excuses. So this is why I don't like it. I don't want you to bring up this type of stuff. It's not because I don't want you to get clarity. I just know that the only answer you're going to get is some sort of silly excuse as to why he didn't do it. And he's not going to tell you the real. And so if he's actually looking for space or showing you that he needs some space from you, it's better to just allow that to be the truth and to give him space until he returns to normalcy. Rather than trying to question him and figure out like, oh, why don't you invite me anymore? Because he's going to tell you he forgot. You know he didn't forget and he knows he didn't forget. He's just giving you a story as a simple excuse. So are you closer to any answer? No. Okay. And oh my God, I think I had the worst response. I said, well, I would have liked to go with you. Okay, that's the wrong way to go about this. He said, you could go, but you made plans instead. Here we are. In my mind, I was thinking, yes, dummy, I am not going to wait until you do moves. I am going to do me, which is what you should do. So, yes, I made plans for myself. And as soon as I knew he had his tournament, and my official answer to that was, but I'm never going to invite myself anywhere I go if I'm not invited. And you know that. During the tournament, he called me multiple times. Good. Okay. At night, he went out to a bar. He didn't tell me this when we were on the phone earlier that day, but I have his location, so I know what he was doing. And he got home in his hotel, hopefully by himself, because I don't know that obviously around 3 a.m. Okay. Okay. Now, Tomisin, he will call me later today. What question? So obviously we're a little bit behind here. What question should I ask? What time did you get home? What did you do? Who are you with? My problem with this is I don't want him to feel like I'm questioning him like he was arrested. How am I supposed to stay calm and letting him yap without being seen as crazy, jealous, insane, and insecure? I've noticed a few red flags. New Year's Eve night now that it starts to be a lot, and I don't like that. How can I bring this issue up? I have no idea how to. Side note, I have met his friends and family. He has posted me on his IG. He always has been consistent in his actions and communication, but I still do see things and I don't like it. Also, I hate to admit it, but I think I am slowly getting in a scarcity mindset is what I think you meant to say. And I hate it. So please give me your thoughts and help me. You've been the big brother I've always needed. My life has gotten better since I started watching your show in 2024. So this is your update now. How to leave him even though I don't have enough information. Wow. So a lot has transpired in the time that I have since you've asked your question. I am tired to not have clarity on where he is going. I think I'll just confront him and ask him, where were you last night and with who? If he starts talking Chinese, I'll have to leave him. Okay, so you just mean talking Chinese, like just, not giving you a straight answer. It hurts me, but he is giving confusions instead of clarity because I'm struggling to find clues and information and I'm mentally exhausted. I still have my life going on and this is taking too much negative energy. So what you're essentially saying is this kind of strange situation that started happening after New Year's Eve over the course of the past couple of weeks, because obviously it's been like a month now, has obviously been happening on multiple occasions now, to the point where now you're fed up, which is perfectly fine if you're fed up. But now if we're getting to this point, I will be real with you, it is confrontation time, okay? When I say it's confrontation time, I mean that you have to have in your mind, like exactly like you said, you're just going to straight up confront him about the things that you have seen and observed. And you're going to let it be known that you just need answers here. You're not going to tell him, hey, if I don't get answers, I'm going to break up with you, da 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 da. But like you mentioned here, you're on the right track. As when you're in confrontation time, it's either I get clarity here, and if you tell me anything that's not complete clarity and understanding of what's going on, if we don't have some sort of heart to heart, then it's over. And that has to be your decision going into the conversation. I'm going to confront him. I'm going to tell him everything that I've been seeing and peeping. That's been an issue for me, right? This is your time to just let it all out. And if he this is his one opportunity. If he chooses not to provide me with ultra clarity, and, and I can't believe in the idea that, we're on the same page and there's nothing fishy going on. If he leaves me with any confusion after this conversation, I'm ending the relationship right then and there. So that has to be what you go into this last conversation feeling like. I'm either going to get extreme clarity on where we stand and what has been transpiring and whatever, needs to be fixed. Or if he is not willing to provide me with clarity on what's going on and whatever, this issue has been happening, because what you're talking about and referring to is you're noticing a drastic change in his pattern of behavior. So what you came to understand him as and how he treated you and how he spoke to you and went about the relationship has drastically changed since around New Year's Eve. Okay. And at this point, it's become unsustainable in terms of your relationship. So your decision has to be either you're going to provide me clarity and you're going to do work in figuring out how we can go back to being in our sustainable relationship. If you're not on that same page with me, if you're not thinking about how to make this sustainable and you're not providing me with clarity, then this relationship is over. And that has to be the only, choice there for you when you go into this conversation. Don't let him talk you out of it. Don't let him talk you off a ledge if he's not willing to provide you with clarity and some sort of, solution moving forward. Okay. Or some sort of answers. All right. Okay. Someone says, but Tommy, since when do you recommend to do such a conversation? Would you really recommend that? Yes, because in this scenario, girly girl is in a place where she has decided she wants to end this relationship. She can't continue to go on like this. And I know that if I advise girly girl or any one of you in a situation where you're at your wit's end, you obviously are going to want to get some sort of closure. And closure comes in the form of confronting him on exactly what you've been feeling and peeping, and allowing him to decide whether or not he wants to be honest with you and upfront with you and provide you with clarity. Then if that guy still doesn't provide you with clarity after you confront him about everything you've been feeling, at least you can feel good in your own mind, girly girl, that you did the job of letting him know what your issue was, and he made a choice to still beat around the bush or not be honest with you about what's going on or his behavior, or care enough about what you feel to try and make a change here. And then you'll know that the relationship really isn't for you. Okay. So that's why I say that it's time to confront him and actually lay it out on the table, because now we're at the end. It's either do or die, right? It's either be in the relationship still or not. So we have to, at some point, address the things that are very important. All right. So that's my advice to you specifically, girly girl. All right. For those of you who want to ask me a question, you can do that one of three ways. It's also by sending your question into our free section, our premium or relationship advice section, or our private relationship advice section. All of those ways are available by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Okay. For all of you who want to follow my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of my screen if you're watching me on TikTok. It's also in my description if you're watching me on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram, Tomisin_Atub. For those of you who are watching me on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show from start to finish, you can always do that by going to my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Tomisin, on YouTube. And when you go there, go into the live section and you'll be able to see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. And you'll have the YouTube and TikTok chat embedded in the video so you won't miss a second of our conversation there. All right. For those of you who are wondering when you can catch me live again, I'll be live again tomorrow at 4 p.m. EST. Okay, I'll be on time and ready to go at 4 p.m. EST sharp, where we will join each other again. So you got to figure out what time that is in your time zone. Until we meet again tomorrow, I bid you adieu. Arrivederci, au revoir, hasta la vista, sayonara, adios, ciao, salam, bon voyage! And I'll see you again tomorrow at exactly 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I love you so much. Take care until we meet again. All right.